Thanks, Bandina. For viewers just tuning in, this is Timeless News, the news station that covers news from the past, present, and future. I'm today's host, Retropa Dumanu, and we're lucky to have a few special guests in today. From Top to Bum versus Ancient Writer Cassius Dio, say hello. Hello. Next is Suetonius, also an Ancient Writer. Evening. Tacitus, Ancient Writer, very excited to meet you. Morning. Lastly is Barrett, a bit outnumbered by the Ancient Writers, but you should be fine. Thank you, yes, I should be fine, Rat. That's good to hear. Alright, right into the discussion about Agrippina the Younger's life. Let's talk about her during Gaius Caligula's reign as princeps. And you, Suetonius, have made quite the allegation about an incestuous relationship between Caligula and his three sisters. Your tweet said this, and I quote, "Caligula lived in a habitual incest with all his sisters." Well then, prove me wrong. Now, you're not the only one to say this, Suetonius. Tacitus and Cassius Dio both have something to add as well. Tacitus, you tweet this. Agrippina committed adultery with Lepidus in hope of gaining power. And Cassius Dio, you said this about Lepidus and Caligula, lover and favourite of his. You also later added in that post that they together performed sexual activities with Caligula's three sisters. You gotta be kidding, where are all these allegations spawning from? Well, Rat, he allowed Lepidus in the office 5 years earlier than he was permitted. You can't forget that Lepidus was said to be left as the successor of the throne. Look, that's a little bit more than friendship if you don't mind me saying. Exactly, Cassius. It also shows how Agrippina would benefit from performing adultery with Lepidus. It's allowing her to gain more power if he did become the next princeps. But these are some heavy allegations you're making. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence against it? Alright, Suetonius, you're right. It's hard to disprove your claims, though then again, it's hard to prove them as well. Truth becomes elusive when talking about personalities such as Caligula and Agrippina. Look, when reading works about ancient history, one needs to be highly skeptical, especially with Caligula. These claims are almost disprovable. It's not because they're correct, but just because of the lack of first-hand sources and any actual evidence from the time. Nicely said, Barrett. I have a picture of a coin minted in Caligula's reign. What does this artifact reveal to us? Obviously, it proves Caligula's love for his sisters. No other emperor had done this until him. They're depicted as goddesses. He's got to be up to something. But Suetonius, incest was frowned upon. Why on earth would he publicly reveal any kind of information that he was performing incest? Wouldn't you say it's more reasonable for this to be a publicity stunt? They're depicted as goddesses. It shows strength and power. There isn't any sexual side to this artifact. Now, this brings me to some other allegations made about Agrippina. Cassius, you said she had sexual relations with Seneca. He was believed to be devoted to her in gratitude for her favours. Well, yes, Agrippina was training her son Nero for the throne, and entrusting his education with Seneca. To make sure he'd do his best, and followed her orders, she would have had sexual relations to enforce this. You, Tacitus, and Cassius Dio, you both had claimed that Agrippina had sexual relations with Pallas the freedman. What makes you say this? 1. Pallas was a big help for her gaining power through putting her forward as a possibility for a new wife for Claudius. And you can't forget that he oversaw the empire's finances. A relationship with him would be giving her some control over finances. I agree with you, Tacitus, about the financial point of view, if they did have sexual relations, though Cassius wasn't even born at the time. You have no real hard evidence, but you can't take this as a fact, though the relationship would make sense. Tacitus, you also said that Agrippina had sexual relations with her own son Nero while he was princeps, but this contradicts your later writings saying that he hated his mother as soon as he became princeps. Suetonius, you also believe this. Yes, though I'm unsure if Agrippina wanted it or if it was Nero. The author Claudius said she performed incest to keep her power over Nero, which does make sense, though another writer, Fabius, says Nero was the one who wanted the sexual relations, though Claudius's view is more widely agreed on, most likely due to a history of seducing men for power. Tacitus, I feel like it's more due to your bias against Agrippina and not liking her. Interestingly, Suetonius, you think Nero was the one to initiate it. I have no doubt that he wanted sexual relations with Agrippina. Whenever they rode together, they both afterwards had stains on their clothes that proved they were in a sexual relationship. You also can't forget one of his prostitutes looked very much like Agrippina. Well, there is no doubt that Agrippina was very prominent in Nero's reign, especially in these two coins. One is showing Agrippina and Nero in a confronted pose. This shows how equal and important they both were. Especially impressive for a woman in ancient Roman times to achieve this due to the sexism present at the time. The second one depicts the two, but this time Agrippina is behind Nero, still showing Agrippina held importance within Nero's reign. These two coins were circulating around the economy at the same time. So the possible perception of Agrippina losing power in the second one might just be a more traditional way of presenting busts on a coin. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the role and relationship Agrippina had with Claudius in his reign. I know you, Suetonius, have something to say. I'll put a quote from you up on the screen. He was a disabled and backwards man. You could just look at him and notice something that wasn't right with him. People like that are very easily manipulated and controlled. And as Tacitus has said, he was slow and was easily told what to do, from his wives and freemen like Pallas and Narcissus. It's true. Claudius did suffer from physical disabilities, as said by his mother Antonia, though back in that society physical disabilities are usually paired with mental ones as well. But this isn't the case. Claudius had extensive historical and literary pursuits. He was also seen giving a speech very intellectually and formally. The case about his wives manipulating him can be proven wrong with how he rejected Messalina gaining the title of Augusta. And in our case about Agrippina, Claudius didn't allow her to prevent agent Tarquinius Priscus from condemnation. There's no doubt she played an important role in Claudius's reign, with or without manipulation. In this artifact, we can view how she was depicted to be equal to Claudius, by them being the same height. This is also a very political statue. The figure on the right is believed to be the personification of the Senate, and the oak wreath Agrippina is wearing are the second highest military decoration. This shows how important and powerful Agrippina was in Claudius' reign. There you have it, viewers. Like it or not, Agrippina was influential and powerful in the reigns of 3 of the emperors. Her influence branched not just to the emperors, but to the freedmen and other workers that worked for him. Thank you Cassius, Darius, Suetonius, Tacitus, and Barrett for coming through time and space for this interview. I know we're called Timeless News, but we still have a time slot. This was Timeless News, and thanks for watching.